Hey everyone, Saul from Three Kingdoms Games here. Coming to you today with some War of the Spark spoilers, as well as news on a new giveaway. Now, for the details on the giveaway, you'll have to stay tuned until the end of the video. First up, for the War of the Spark spoilers, we have Ignite the Beacons. It's a 5 CMC instant that lets you search for up to two planeswalkers, from your deck, shuffle your deck, and you have to reveal them obviously and put them into your hand. Now, I think this card's okay. Ultimately, I think this is only going to see really commander play, if that. It's more of a fun card because in standard and in modern, you have to be locking up the game by like turn 5, turn 6, not searching for combo pieces to set up still. So I don't think this is going to see as much play as some people think. Now, next up we have Ravnica at War. I think this is a solid sideboard card. It is a 4 CMC sorcery that lets you exile all multicolor permanents from play. Now, it's exile, so that's very important. Because in case any of these things, are indestructible or anything like that, it gets around that. Plus, with the way there's Esper mid-range kind of strategies, and I've seen a Naya token strategy that uses a lot of multicolored creatures, this is actually a really good way to get around them. As well as in Commander, obviously, this will have a decent impact. Next up, we have Singles Combat. It is a 5 CMC sorcery. Each player chooses either a creature or planeswalker they control and sacrifices the rest. Until your next turn, players can't cast creatures or planeswalkers. That's pretty big. This can have a huge impact depending on how you want to try to steer the game. If you have a, target player has to sack a creature effect and you still have mana left over after you do this, it effectively will get the one creature you want to get if, they had multiple options. There's lots of stuff this can lead to. And I think this is actually a really decent card, kind of a semi-controlled board wipe. Next up, we have Flimdipith the Lost. This is a character the MTG community loves. He has been seen in Ravnica since the beginning. He's, related to Azorius usually. And he'll pop up in the background of cards all over the place. Now, for 2 CMC, you get a 1/1 Homunculus that when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. If it entered the battlefield from your deck or was cast from your deck, you draw 2 cards. As well as if a spell were to target it, it shuffles itself into your library. So, kind of a fun, versatile card. Might not be bad for blue players, like control players, to use it to, try to draw cards and shuffle stuff into your library. Not bad overall. Next up, we have Dread Horde Invasion. It is a 2 CMC enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life and amass 1. Now, this is the first time we've looked at the amass mechanic. The way it works is that you can put a 1/1 counter on an army creature you control, or if you don't control one, you create a 0/0 black zombie army token, and then that will get the +1 counter. So amass whatever the number is, so amass n. So, if it's amass 2, it would get 2 counters, so on and so forth. And then, if any of your zombie tokens are 6 or greater, when they attack, they get lifelink till end of turn. I think this is an interesting card. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Rakdos Zombies is kind of looking like it's setting up to be a pretty solid archetype. So, next up we have Massacre Girl. She is a 5 CMC human assassin that when she enters the battlefield, all other creatures get -1/-1. Whenever a creature dies this turn, all other creatures than her get -1/-1. So for 5 CMC, you're getting a 4/4 with Menace that will probably wipe the board if your opponents have any number of low drop 1/1s, because she comes out, -1/-1 hits all the creatures. Anything that dies, gives -1/-1 to all the other creatures, so on and so forth, causing this cascade where you'll probably be left with just Massacre Girl. And if they don't have an answer, you will probably win off of this. It is, I think, a pretty solid card. Next up, you have Nehep, Dread Horde Champion. So Neheb's back. We last saw him on Amonkhet. He is one of the champions of Bolas, after all. He's been zombified this time because he is a zombie Minotaur warrior. He's a 5/4 with trample. When he attacks, he is 4 CMC, so, not too bad. When he attacks, if he deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you can discard any number of cards from your hand and then draw that many cards, and you gain that much red mana. This red mana will not empty until the end of your turn. So you could potentially, if you're doing some kind of burn or aggro strategy, swing in with him, hit, discard your hand if all you have is lands or anything like that, draw up, and potentially burn them to the face or refill your board. Lots of options here. Seems like a really, really good card. Next up, we have Dread Horde Arcanist. For 2 CMC, he's a 1/3 with trample. He is a zombie wizard. I've been saying Wizard Tribal looks like he's also getting a pretty big boost this set. Now, when he attacks, you can get an instant or sorcery from your graveyard and cast it for free if its CMC is equal to or less than his power. Now, he starts as a 1/3, which isn't that bad. But when you consider that Adeliz is still out there, for those of you who forgot who that is, it's from Dominaria. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, all your wizards get +1/+1 till end of turn. So it's like pseudo prowess. You have him out, you have her out, you can, burn them a bunch of times, swing in, steal a burn spell back out, hit them again, and it just makes this really hard-hitting, quick kind of burn package. And I think, it's a solid card overall. We have Zhang Yangu next. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I'm going to butcher this probably every time I say his name, and I will try to get it right eventually. Wildcrafter. He is 3 CMC for 3 loyalty. He's a planeswalker. This is the first time we've seen him in a set other than in the Global Series decks. All your creatures, he effectively has a Rishkar-like effect where all your creatures with +1 counters on them can tap for mana. Mana of any color, specifically. So, pretty solid. And then you can -1 to give a creature you control a +1/+1 counter. So it helps kind of buff your board and kind of, fills in some gaps, might let you mana ramp. Decent card, I think, overall. And it might see some, okay play. Next up, we have Sorin, Vengeful Bloodlord. He is a rare planeswalker, so he does have 2 abilities on top of his Anthem effect. He is 4 CMC for 4 loyalty. During your turn, creatures you control and planeswalkers you control have lifelink. So this is important if you're using the Gideon that turns into a creature, or or any other creatures or planeswalkers that happen to have deal damage effects. So you can kind of gain life outside of combat, or gain life outside of combat. So I think that seems like a pretty decent card. His +2 is he deals 1 damage to target creature. Again, lifelink, so pick at something for 1, gain a life. Sorry, target player or planeswalker, not creature. And then he can -X to return target creature with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's direct to the battlefield, so this is huge. I think this is a really strong effect. And it is a vampire on top of its other types. I think this will see some constructive play, especially in like an Orzhov, if you're doing like an aristocrat strategy where you have lots of tokens and lots of creatures and things like that going on. You can gain tons of life. It's a direct answer to Red Burn to a degree if you have that creature base going. Overall, I think it's a pretty solid card, and we'll probably see a decent amount of play, probably some commander play for sure. Great card. Next up, we have Angrath, Captain of Chaos. Now, I don't know exactly what happened story-wise, and I want to find out what made him join Bolas's side. Because of his abilities, I'd assume he's on Bolas's side. I could be wrong. Creatures you control have Menace, is his Anthem effect. Now, he is 4 CMC, and then you can -2 to amass 2. There's a lot of cards floating around with this amass effect, so I think they're trying to push this as like the big effect of this set. Overall, not a bad planeswalker. Could be used as a great finisher if you have a good solid board state and you could swing him potentially for lethal. You drop him, swing in with your stuff. they now all have menace, and they might not be able to block the same way. Next up, we have Nahiri, Storm of Stone, 4 CMC for 6 loyalty planeswalker. On your turn, creatures you control have first strike, and the equip costs or activation costs of equipment you control cost 1 less. Again, not probably going to see much play for standard because there's not as many good equipment cards, but this is a solid card overall. And then -X, deal X damage to target tapped creature. Again, not bad, can be used as a 4-cost removal spell effectively. Otherwise, it's okay. Giving first strike to all your stuff isn't bad, but 4 CMC is iffy on this one. But we'll see how it plays. I could see it, going either way for if it's going to see play or not. And then lastly, we have the first of the rare lands that I want to show you, which is the one that I think is the most bonkers, and that's Karn's Bastion. It's taps for a colorless, or you pay for and tap and proliferate, which with as many planeswalkers as there are, being able to proliferate for 4, so pretty much any turn you have 4 open mana, proliferate is huge. This probably will see some standard play. You can also proliferate to throw off, your opponent's sagas, so you can make them Anthem for the Histories of Benalia during your turn, which is fantastic. Because the way Proliferate works is you target any number of permanents in play, and they get an additional token of whatever type they already have. So there you have it. Those are the first of the major spoilers. Now, on to the giveaway. So, details of the giveaway are as follows. You're going to have to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment below, tell me what cards you are most hyped for in this set. Is there a planeswalker that you never thought you'd see that you're finally getting to see? Because the giveaway is huge this time. It is for an entire booster box of War of the Spark. You just heard me correct. A 36-pack booster box of War of the Spark. So, worth it. So, as always, like this video, subscribe to the channel. To enter it in the giveaway, comment below on what cards you want to see. Now, if you haven't done it, don't forget to click the little bell icon in the corner there. It's the notification icon to make sure you miss none of this content as it comes out. You can follow us on all major social media. That's in the description box below. If you haven't pre-registered for a pre-release yet, you can come into stores. We're going to be running this competition till pre-release weekend. As always, see you next time.